Coming to you live from a Walmart parking lot in a men's restroom, this is Thick Man Inc.
We are live here with your host, top 100 Madden player Tristan Kilgannon, and ESPN featured athlete Isaiah Ashley. We're going to be giving to you our opinion on the MLB sign-stealing scandal with the Astros, the mega fight that just went down between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, as well as our opinion on where Tua should be drafted. Lob us a like, subscribe, let us know what you think about the Astros scandal. And Isaiah, why don't you bring us in with the Astros scandal intro?
The Houston Astros have faced heavy action from the MLB, having their general manager and coach both be suspended for a whole season for a sign-stealing scheme they had set up for their home games involving a camera and an electronic system to decode pitcher signs. They would bang on a trash can to indicate if it was going to be an off-speed pitch or not. And to me, this is one of the biggest overreactions in sports history. There are two groups of people who are upset at the Astros cheating scandal. There are people who never played baseball past middle school, and people who are bitter their team isn't as good as the Astros. Let me explain a few things for the people who don't know, or those in the MLB who are choosing to be willfully ignorant. First off, that hidden camera, which is a big focus of the investigation, that is the same camera angle which is displayed on TV every day when you're watching a baseball game. From the outfield, behind the pitcher, you can clearly see the catcher's signs. Fun fact, there is a TV in every single dugout of the MLB, in every MLB stadium in the league, which is playing, in fact, that very same game. So, teams already have access to the sign. This is very, very curious to me, the backlash over signs.
Well, that's a bit misleading because the TV feed is going to be way behind a live stream feed.
Way behind? No, it will not be way behind. I can, in fact, been in an MLB stadium watching a game, have my brother try and pull it up on my phone. There is at most a 3-second delay. But getting back to what I'm saying.
3-second delay is much more significant
Pitch
than you
isn't around
think.
3 seconds. But getting back to what I was saying, another hot topic was there is, in fact, wires on players. That has not been proven. No one has proved that. There is no concrete evidence of that. That is entirely theoretical. And to me, the lack of proof for that this far into the investigation is clear proof that did not happen. But I'm going to get to the actual sign stealing. I don't care who wrote the system, who created the system that was stealing and decoding the signs. It could be Bill Gates for all I care. But no system like that is going to be right 100% of the time. It only takes being wrong once or twice for a batter to lose all confidence. Imagine you're expecting a breaking ball down the court of the plate and you get 98 miles an hour high inside, buzzing you off the plate. That is enough to make anyone lose their confidence in that system. Pair that with a batter having 1/6 of a second to react to the pitch.
That is completely false.
To react to the pitch. And you start to see why this could be an issue, why it might not be as overblown as you think. Then again, you pair that with the fact that big league hitters generally know the pitch 90% of the time based off strike count and pitchers. It's not that shocking for players to be able to guess the pitch before it's thrown. Hell, my dad, who peaked in college baseball, can sit on the couch and before the sign is thrown down, tell you what the pitch is going to be and be right about 75% of the time. But wait, there's more. The Astros also didn't have a system in place to tell you where the ball was going to be thrown, if it was going to be high and tight inside or low and away. That makes a big difference. They couldn't communicate that with the trash can. And all in all, I think this has led to an extreme overreaction, people not understanding the extreme difficulty of hitting a baseball. And it's got people whipped up in a mob for no particular reason. The Astros have served their punishment and it is very just what has happened, but they need to move on. The league needs to move on.
The rest of what you said, you saying that it is impossible to create a system that diagnoses what type of pitch can be thrown. That is entirely false.
Time, Tristan. I said it is more. I could.
You are 100% false. I heard what you said, Isaiah, and you are still 100.
You're telling me every
false.
single which was buzzed in was right. You're telling me every single time they banged on trash can.
No, you said it's It's not impossible. There have been several videos on YouTube depicting how it would be possible. Most specifically, the YouTuber, former NASA scientist Mark Rober has done a video in the past describing how it would be possible to write a system and to develop something that knows what pitch is going to be coming based off a sign. No base stealing signs, all that. It has shown how a computer system is capable of doing that. It's a matter of creating it. So that is false when you're
I'll
saying
address that before
And
you keep going. You'd be more than accurate in saying that if, in fact, the pitchers and catchers did not change signs during the game. That happens. It is not the same thing every single time.
It does happen when the computer system is changed and adapts to
Doesn't adapt instantly.
That's not
One
impossible.
pitch could be wrong, and that is enough, in my opinion, to shake the confidence. But keep going.
There's over 100 pitches in a game.
Okay. Again.
If you're not missing it for 1, 2, 3 at-bats, that's not a lot considering the whole game. And when you look at the Astros' numbers during the playoffs when they're at home compared to their away, I think they stole a World Series from the Dodgers or the Yankees.
I'm glad you brought that up, but keep going.
Wait, let me finish. Altuve batted .472 and slugged over 1,000 and hit 6 home runs away. At home. In away games, he hit .143, slugged .229, and hit 1 home run. Carlos Correa, in home games during the playoffs, hit .371 with 3 home runs at home and 2 home runs away. And this trend is consistent with almost the entirety of the Astros roster. In the series against the Yankees, in the Astros home games, they won by an average score of 3. And in the 4 home games they played with the Yankees, there were 2 one-score games. Whereas when the Yankees games that they played at home, they won by an average of 4 2/3 runs, including an 8-1 win and a 5-0 win. The Astros were incapable of doing anything at the Yankees, but suddenly at home, they are scoring runs and beating the Yankees by a less margin than the Yankees are beating them at home. So they're getting blown out when they're away, winning by a small margin at home. If you take away whatever minimum, however far you want to say the advantage is, you seem to say that's not that big of an advantage. Even the advantage is small. If you take that advantage away, 2 one-score games they lost to the Yankees, that changes a whole lot. And a very similar thing happened earlier in the playoffs against the Red Sox, where they dominated home games, got blasted in the first away game, and squeaked out a 1-run win in the last away game against the Red Sox. Now, I know Isaiah is going to call me out now. You're a Yankees fan. You're just salty. But I think when you look at the Red Sox series and the Yankee series, you could see there's a significant advantage in home games. And if you take there's some type of advantage. If you take that advantage away, there's a good chance that they lose both of those
What you
series.
neglected to tell the viewers just now, in the World Series that year, guess who lost every single home game? The Astros. And guess who won the World Series? The Astros. But I'm very glad you brought up the Yankees, because there are some people who are talking about the Astros cheating. Before you thought at all. And 2 of them are on the Yankees.
Can I address that? Before you say that, I don't think anyone is arguing that the Astros are a bad baseball team, Isaiah.
Where did I just say people are saying that? So it is very possible.
Well, no, because you're saying, guess who lost all their away games but still won the World Series? The Astros. No one is saying that they're a bad team, and I think everyone thinks they'd still be capable of winning the World Series. But when you take a look at how close the Red Sox and Yankees series were, there clearly was an advantage in home games, and they performed much better. So I think it's up for debate if they lose a series, and those series would be even crazier if that's taken out of the equation.
You know who could have made the series a lot further away? A few people who could have really helped the Houston Astros lose some games. 2 fellas by the name of Aaron Judge and Aroldis Chapman. Mr. Judge has been very outspoken, mentioning that he doesn't think the Astros World Series should have happened. Meanwhile, he had 11 strikeouts in the Astros series, most of any team, and I think he had a subpar performance for the season he was having. But hey, I guess the pitchers had wires on them buzzing in where he was going to swing. Then there's Aroldis Chapman, who has also been vocal against the Astros. Aroldis Chapman is one of the biggest losers in sports, and let me tell you why. When you can throw a 102-mile-an-hour fastball, what are you doing throwing Jose Altuve a hanging curveball at 80 miles an hour over the middle of the plate? I could have hit that. Better yet, if you can throw 102 miles an hour,
I don't think you could have hit that.
Why are you down 2-1 in the count? You can throw it down the middle every time and blow it past them. Those 2 people should not be talking. Then there is Cody Bellinger, who set World Series records for ineptitude. He went 4 for 28 with 17 strikeouts. Then again, hey, the pitchers are probably wired to. They were clearly banging trash cans to tell where exactly Mr. Bellinger was going to swing. All three of those guys need to shut the hell up. They are bigger parts of the reason their teams lost in this whole cheating debacle.
I mean, in closing thoughts, I disagree with you. I think there is an advantage that comes with knowing what type of pitch is coming, whether you like it or not. There's no guessing if it's going to be a fastball, changeup, curveball. The system was clearly in place. They're guilty of that. There's not a lot of evidence outside the Altuve incident with the video where he hit the walk-off home run that there's any buzzer. I don't know how likely that is. I personally think that would have been pretty hard to pull off. There would be more evidence, like you stated, if that happened.
Well, there's no evidence in the video either. That's the thing. It's not like you see a glimpse of a wire. He just doesn't want to take his shirt off.
No, exactly. The only thing is like him refusing to take his shirt off and wagging his finger at his teammates not to rip his shirt off. So, I mean, I don't think that part of the story is very likely, but I think it's kind of ignorant or not. You're not analyzing the situation correctly if you're dismissing that there was an advantage, and that advantage could have definitely turned the tide of the Red Sox and Yankees series. I don't think it necessarily turned the tide of the Dodgers series, but if, let's say, the Red Sox or Yankees are in that World Series, maybe the Dodgers win. That's what the part of my argument is when it comes to
I'll say a few
them
things
stealing a series from the Dodgers.
Then we'll move on to a further topic about this. Yes, there is guessing pitches. MLB players guess what pitch is going to be every single time they're at the plate. Saying they don't is ignorant. But what do you think should have been done to the Astros? You clearly think this is a major deal. This is a big cheating scandal. What do you think should have happened? They shouldn't have avoided the World Series. That can't happen. They will never do that. The MLB will never do that.
I think the way Manfred has handled punishments has been extremely poor, and it makes some of Goodell's weird punishments in the NFL look somewhat worse. And I think granting immunity there on the Astros was a bit ridiculous. But the most ridiculous piece that has come from Manfred with regards to punishments, talking about why he did what he did, is when he called the World Series trophy a piece of metal. How are you going to devalue one of the most iconic trophies in the world of sports in the last 100 years? It is the prize of your league, something in every player and every organization strives to hold up one day. Maybe not every organization, because some are never going to get it. You just can't simply call it a piece of metal. And I know he apologized and stated that he was trying to make a point, but even with that point you were making, it doesn't matter. You're still devaluing the trophy, saying taking it away won't do anything in the grand scheme of things. You're still saying that, people shouldn't really care because it's just a trophy. But that's what every organization is trying to win. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, Manfred is indeed right. The trophy is just a piece of metal. Very poor phrasing, but you compare him to Roger.
It's not just a piece of metal.
In fact, it's a piece of metal.
To the players and organizations. Okay, then what's the point of playing baseball then?
Make millions of dollars. But I'm going to switch topics a little bit. You compared him to Roger Goodell. Don't ever do that again. Roger Goodell has had some horrible punishments. He lays the hammer down on people who abuse substances, and not even abuse substances, smoke weed. Meanwhile, he lets domestic abusers slide. There's the Ray Rice incident. There's how he's handled Kareem Hunt. There's how he's handled Tyreek Hill. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. These are physically violent acts being committed against defenseless people, and you are comparing it to a cheating scandal in sports. Don't ever do that again. Manfred has his flaws. He ain't Goodell bad. But I really do think that Manfred could have handled it better. He's had some poor slip-ups, but I agree with the punishment. You got rid of the two ringleaders. You got rid of the GM. You got rid of the coach. I don't know what more you can expect to do.
I mean, if you take away and say that the Astros aren't champions, then at least you save face and the public is happy. Maybe the players are more happy. I mean, the players are never going to be happy in general because the Astros cheated. But if they do that, then he kind of saves face for the MLB. We don't go into the season with the Astros taking away signs, trash. I mean, that's still going to happen, but there's going to be less of the Astros having to take signs away from fans because they're not happy with how they're trash talking them. That's another pathetic thing the Astros organization has done. So
Tristan,
he definitely could have. I feel like he could have done.
You cannot take a championship away from a team without completely discrediting your sport. And the reason I say that again, the steroid era in baseball. Every single World Series champion that little span had someone abusing steroids. They're not going to take those titles away. That stuff is what it is.
That's because
You can't
every
rip
team had
titles
it.
away.
Only the Astros were the only team that were doing this.
They were not the only team stealing signs. They were just the best at it.
They're the only one doing it illegally.
I do not think that the World Series should be taken.
And the
I
laws of
think
the
if you want to
MLB, what they were
completely
doing was
discredit
illegal.
your league, you take away the World Series.
Is there even a good solution in this scenario?
I think there is. I think he's handled the punishment somewhat well. You've got rid of the two men in power in that organization. He didn't directly fire them. He suspended from their year, which caused them to be fired. But
do you think if there should have been any punishments levied against players in the Astros organization?
you have to suspend everyone who's taken it at bat for that entire Astros season, then regardless of what team they were on, which you cannot do. Those guys are on different teams now. You can't suspend those guys. You can't even suspend the current Astros for that. You can't do that.
I mean, if there was because I'm sure that different players had different levels of involvement as far as, there's no way everyone had the same
And
involvement.
there's no way you can tell who had more involvement. But speaking of players who have gone away, who were involved in this scandal, take us into Mike Fiers.
Mike Fiers, the only reason we know about this story is because he is the one he now plays for the Astros.
No, he doesn't play for Astros.
No, sorry, Athletics. They both start with an A. Oakland Athletics.
Slight difference in quality of those two teams, but...
And he broke, yeah, definitely. And he broke the story during an interview. And people, because he's the one who broke the story, they're calling him a snitch. And they are saying that he shouldn't have done it. They're basically harassing him. It's been confirmed that they've been sending him death threats. And I think these people are ridiculous. I get that people are criticizing him for not letting it out during his time with the team. But who cares? He finally told people. People act like he had nothing to lose by coming out with it because he was not on the team anymore. That is extremely false. He had to have known that with coming out with it, he risked losing his World Series ring as a punishment, being regarded as a champion, and a team that he was on would normally be celebrated for the rest of history as one of the best teams ever. And now they're not regarded as that. He also had to have known that he would be in the spotlight. And when being in the spotlight, you have a bunch of haters. I think people are underplaying the fact that he knew what was going to happen. He knew there'd be negative effects, and it is negative affecting him. I think that people are ridiculous for saying that he's a snitch. And yeah,
well, he is in fact, by definition, a snitch. Like, based on the definition of a snitch, he is indeed one. You can argue if he did the right thing by selling them out or not, but I'm sorry, he's a snitch, even if you think he's right.
There's no problem. No, and I'm not taking issue with them calling him a snitch. I'm taking issue with them sending him death threats and being mad at him. Like, you shouldn't be mad at him that he snitched.
I am never going to defend someone sending out death threats to an MLB player for some action they've taken unless it's beating their wife. But at the same time, you chose to do this after you have left the team. Clearly, he's had some issue with it. But he's evidently had a change of heart. I think everyone knows they were never going to discredit the World Series. But I just don't get the timing of doing it now. I really don't.
I mean, I just explained it because he knew.
No, you just explained
he probably
it like,
felt.
He knew he was going to get backlash. But I don't get why he's doing it right now or did it when he did it.
He probably felt guilty about it.
Okay.
He probably he knew that his team did not rightfully win the World Series. He did not feel good about it. And despite knowing all the backlash would come and negative attention that'll go his way, he still came out with it. And I think it's admirable of him.
No, the Astros rightfully won the World Series. They blasted the Dodgers. If they got the World Series rightfully, that's a different story. But again, I just don't see.
Well, they didn't blast the Dodgers. It was a 7-game series,
all of which they won games on the road. But I just don't get the timing. I really don't. And I think if he's really this hero you were trying to make him out to be, he would have came out with it during the season as soon as he knew about it.
Well, how hard is it to come out with that when you're in a locker room of 25 people that you're supposed to be working? That's much more different. There's much more pressure to come out with it then. And when you have time to think on it, dwell on what your team actually did, you probably feel a lot more guilty then than in the heat of the moment when things are going good and you're like, oh, we're winning. It doesn't matter that much.
Instead, he decided to do something which is going to get his former teammates 95-mile-an-hour fastballs thrown at their heads. Slight tangent here. If you are wishing for the Astros to get pegged by pitches, I hope a peregrine falcon dive bombs you and gives you the taste of what it's like to be hit with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. people can get hurt or killed by getting hit with those pitches, and fans are cheering that on. That is such a load of crap to me. But he has set his own guys up for failure once he has left the organization. I don't know how to feel about it. Obviously, the Astros are cheating. It should be called to light, but it being exposed this way by this guy who's no longer on the team is a little bit suspect to me.
Well, that kind of wraps up our thoughts with the whole Astros scandal. Speaking about people getting hit in the head, the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury went down this past weekend. I truly enjoy both fighters' personalities and as boxers. It's fun to watch Wilder's crazy knockouts, the way he just flatlines someone with one punch, whether it's Dominique Brazil, knocking Fury down in their first fight. And then there's Fury, whose fighting style has drawn comparisons to the GOAT, Muhammad Ali. And after the first fight, in which Deontay knocked down Fury twice, and Fury outboxing completely, I had no idea coming into the fight who I thought was going to win. And when this fight happened, I was like, oh shit, Tyson Fury really is the best fighter in the world. As this being Deontay Wilder's first loss he's ever suffered in his professional career, he is still a real fighter. He has had, I think, 41 or 42 knockouts. The only fighter he's never knocked out is Tyson Fury. He's had one fight go to decision in which he won, but that fighter he knocked out in their second fight. I do not know his name right now. I apologize for that.
Ignorant.
But as far as the fight, fantastic display by Tyson Fury. I think he showed why he's the best heavyweight in the world. And Deontay Wilder, I guess better luck next time.
Yeah, it was pretty. Tyson Fury voiced the fact that he figured out Deontay Wilder's weakness in the 12th round of their last fight. And that weakness was Wilder cannot fight very effectively if he was moving backwards. He didn't have great balance. He is always used to pressuring his opponent, and he wasn't used to getting pressure. That was a real chink in his armor. And Fury began immediately, as soon as the fight started, exposing that weakness. In the first round, they exchanged a few volleys, but Fury hit him with a strong right. Wilder went to his back foot and then stayed there the rest of the fight. Fury never let up, and I think the fight was close to over by the fifth. And Wilder's trainer eventually threw the towel in the seventh. It was a very good fight. I'm glad I watched it. But after the fight, Deontay Wilder has said a few things, one of which is really stupid, one of which not so much. But the first thing he said, which generated some controversy, he said, "My side threw in the towel, and you know I'm ready to go out on my shield." And I completely agree with him. Deontay Wilder is one of the heaviest hitters in boxing we've ever seen. We haven't seen the likes of his right since Vladimir Klitschko. And when you have a guy like that who can just end a fight with one punch, you let that fight go as long as you can. The longer that fight goes on, the greater the chance that he gets in that one shot, that game-changing punch that ends the fight instantly. This isn't Drago versus Apollo. No one's going to die in the ring. The trainer should have let that fight go the distance.
That is extremely ignorant that no one's going to die in the ring, given there have been multiple fighters in the past few, I think, not multiple, like 1 to 3 fighters. I think it's one
and
or
those
two.
fighters
But
not
the point is,
Wilder, the freak of nature and
there have been fighters that have died in the ring.
I'll rephrase that.
Well,
no one of his
they were
caliber
very
is going to
accomplished
die in the
fighters.
ring.
That is not true and extremely ignorant. They were high caliber fighters. I do not know the names because I did not prepare for this argument. You saying that Deontay Wilder, it'd be impossible for him to die in the ring. That's just
no. I say
false.
he's not going
It
to
can
die
happen.
in the ring. A meteorite could strike the stadium, and he could die in the ring. It's not impossible. It's just it's not going to happen.
He could die in a ring from a punch. It is any one punch, any hit to the head can kill you.
Yeah, so if I stepped in the ring with Deontay Wilder, I could kill him. Is that what you're saying?
No,
that's what you
I'm
just
not
said,
saying
though,
that.
because one punch could kill him. There's also the fact they have a referee who, stops the fight.
Any one
like
punch
that
is no. Well, that is true. I mean, technically, if you hit him when he's not looking as hard as you can probably kill him depending on where you hit him and how hard you hit him.
I was not by own way he is looking, but trying to frame me as a coward to not take Deontay out Wilder head dead. Come on now.
Well, you wouldn't be able to get to him to punch him in the first place.
Evidently a fat, unathletic guy like Tyson Fury can. Why can't I?
You're talking about Tyson Fury, who's one of the most skilled boxers to ever step in the boxing ring.
Indeed.
A 6'9",
nice.
270-pound man.
Okay. I can get to 270 pretty
And you're
easily,
acting
but
like you could step
you
in
are
a heavyweight
taking away
boxing
from my
ring
point here.
and punch the hardest puncher ever.
You are taking away from my
That
point
is the dumbest
here.
statement you've ever made on this podcast.
They should have let him.
No, I'm poking holes in your statement. Your statement.
He was not
stupid.
going to die in the ring. No one thought he was going to die in the ring. They have a referee to stop him from dying in the ring. He would have got TKO
and that's
or
what
KO. He didn't even get KO.
The referee probably would have stopped it.
What?
The referee could have stopped it earlier in the fight, or even right around when he threw in the towel. He was getting mauled from the 5th round on. There was no chance. Round after round, he was getting weaker. He was unable to throw a strong right like you're saying he could have, but he's only able to knock people out when he's moving forward.
You're
the
not
reason
about
he was
to sit
able
here
to
and
knock...
tell me that there's no way Deontay Wilder could have gotten one strong right off. I don't care how weak he is. He could have thrown a strong right punch. You are discrediting
There's
Deontay
no way
Wilder.
There's no... First of all, I like Deontay Wilder more than you do, but looking at how that fight was progressing, Tyson Fury was not letting off him. He was not going to let Deontay Wilder step forward. Deontay Wilder's balance was off. He hadn't moved forward since the beginning of the fight. We're halfway through the fight. He hasn't gotten off one strong right. He's been jabbing the whole time. What makes you think in the second half of the fight, when he's been getting weaker, that he's going to get off
because
strong
he's
right?
Deontay Wilder. He's in the biggest boxing match in the world of the year. The fact you were saying, oh, he was too beat up, too pushed back, he couldn't have thrown a punch, that is ridiculous. Of course he could have thrown a punch if the situation arose.
Yeah, Tyson Fury was not hurt at all.
And you go from not hurt to,
Wilder,
and I quote you, dead if he gets hit in the right spot. You are taking away from Deontay Wilder's meat hook of an arm.
And you clearly did not watch a fight or did not analyze it.
You just
correctly
don't know how to appreciate Deontay Wilder's power.
You're the one who didn't appreciate it, and we're telling me I was stupid for thinking he was a fantastic fighter, one of the greatest punchers ever. Telling me
no, I told you you were an idiot
for
saying he was as good as Mike Tyson, which you are an idiot. Mike Tyson's way stronger when murder both these guys. But we are getting
with Deontay Wilder's a much harder puncher than Mike Tyson
idiot.
was. Mike Tyson is no, I'm not. Who has more knockouts?
That has nothing to do with what I said. Mike Tyson punches harder. George Foreman also punches harder. In fact, no Foreman has more knockouts. But Mike Tyson's one of the hardest punches ever. Come on now. We are getting off topic, though.
He's one of the hardest.
We are getting off
Everything
topic.
You said was very wrong.
I'm sorry you don't appreciate Deontay Wilder. But we're going
I do appreciate him. I love him as a fighter.
Second excuse. Would you like to introduce the second excuse, or should I?
So Wilder's second excuse, and I mean, I don't even think the first one was an excuse, really. Just what we just went over was more of a preference on how he would have liked to gone out. I think he's acknowledging that he probably would have lost the fight and would have rather gone out on his shield. So, but we'll leave it at that. We'll let our gracious audience give their opinion.
One fan who comments, who's your dad, give his non-biased take.
But the second excuse he gave was that he was wearing a 40-pound costume 20 minutes prior to the fight within his ring walk. So prior to the fight, probably wearing it around 25 to 30 minutes. And he claimed that this weakened his legs, get his feet under him properly throughout the entirety of the fight. And I think this is ridiculous for a professional athlete to be using this as an excuse. It's embarrassing to say that, but because of how embarrassing it is, maybe there's some validity. I mean, 40 pounds standing around for 20 minutes, maybe his legs were a little weakened, but it's just an embarrassing excuse. And if at all you thought it was going to happen, first of all, your trainer should be telling you, don't fucking wear that. Just walk in with your boxing trunks on. Don't do it in the first place. And when you put that on and you feel how heavy it is, you should have been like, oh, this definitely isn't a good idea. So all around, terrible excuse, terrible decision if you realize that's going to happen. And hopefully if the fight happens again, Deontay Wilder doesn't wear a fucking
he's going
circus
60
outfit.
Pounds next time. But I've got three things regarding the 45-pound costume. One, 45 pounds is not costume. That much when it's spread out over your entire body. If you had a 45-pound plate on your head or taped to each one of your legs, maybe, but over your whole body, I feel like the impact is greatly lessened. But there are also people who hike for days and weeks with 100 pounds in their backs and are doing just fine. Like,
But to be fair, they don't then go fight the
No,
best
they just
heavyweight
then
in the
go shoot
world.
people. But my third thing with that, Deontay Wilder wore this as a tribute to Black History Month. And my take on that is instead of wearing it as a tribute, don't wear the costume, knock out Tyson Fury, and become a part of Black history instead.
I 100%
It's
agree with
such an
that.
ugly costume.
I mean, it kind of looked
No, it
cool.
didn't. It looked like a crappy kid's Halloween costume with light up glow sticks under the eyes. But my final thing, and Deontay, if you're somehow listening to this, and if anything I've said has offended you or upset you in any way, feel free to invite me to your gym and we'll have a little sparring match. I guarantee I will do better than the last unathletic white dude you brought in there and beat the hell out of.
Isaiah,
I am trying to get us views. Do you know a type of revenue stream we'll get if there is a video of me getting murdered by a professional boxer?
Have you probably seen the video of the internet? He knocks out an internet troll. There's someone talking trash to him, and he invited him to his gym and knocked him out. Have you seen that before?
Several times, hence why I'm referencing it.
Oh, I wasn't sure if that's why you're making
exactly why I'm making the reference. But I'm trying to generate some views here, so hey, Deontay Wilder, hit me up.
But looking towards the future of heavyweight boxing, I hope that in a dream scenario, I don't think this will happen. I hope that Fury fights Joshua next and Wilder fights the winner of that. I think that's best case scenario, but that'll probably not happen. We'll probably see a rematch between Wilder and Fury. Then the winner of that will fight Joshua.
The issue with that
or Joshua will never get a chance.
Fury's dad is an idiot, and he is saying that he wants $250 million to have a Joshua Fury fight. That is never going to happen for boxing. It is just not going to. And you are an idiot who looks like you're trying to make people portrayed as a coward for having such an unreasonable situation to fight Joshua. $250 million. Did you see his dad's comments on this?
I didn't see his comments.
He was saying he wanted a $500 million total pool for the fight. Oh my! It was ridiculous.
Has your opinion on who's the best fighter in the heavyweight division changed?
I'm still leaning Joshua. The fight didn't do anything to persuade me. I think Joshua, if he had the same knowledge.
I mean, Tyson Fury's undefeated, has the best wins out of when you compare their careers between him and Joshua, and just knocked out one of the best in the world.
Yes, but I feel like Joshua
lost
to
to
the exact same. If he had the same knowledge that Tyson Fury had. If you tell Anthony Joshua, hey, if you can get Deontay Wilder on his back foot, you will win the fight, I guarantee you Anthony Joshua will also destroy him.
But I don't know. I think Tyson Fury does everything Joshua does except better.
I would have to disagree with you. I think Anthony Joshua is a more technical boxer in some ways. Not always, but some. But we are getting away from our intended review of the podcast. How would you take us into our next segment?
So, a lot of people love Tua Tagovailoa, but if I'm an NFL team, I would struggle to draft Tua in the first 10 picks, maybe even the first round. And because there's so much attention that comes with a high draft pick, and he had a hip dislocation, hip fracture this past season. Recovery for this injury takes a long time, even when the meter's reporting the go soon. That doesn't really mean that his hip feels like it used to. His hip is going to take a long time to recover. I know I'm not a professional athlete, but I had hip labrum surgery, which is not nearly as bad as a hip fracture, and that took a good 6 to 12 months for me to feel perfect again. So for Tua Tagovailoa, someone who's going to have to run away from 300-pound behemoths, people that are faster than him more than likely as far as defensive ends and outside linebackers, I think he's going to need at least another year off. And the only way a team's going to be able to do it because of the pressure that comes with a top first-round pick is if they have a very good starter in front of him. Not a lot of the teams in the early part of the draft have that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him on draft day.
I'm going to go through the top 10 picks as they currently stand and tell you my opinion on Mr. Tua's situation there if you went to that team, and then I'm going to tell you the team he should go to. But Tua has suffered the most destructive injuries I've ever seen. It's only comparable in my mind. The ones I've watched, which are worse, are Bo Jackson's career-ending knee injury and Alex Smith's leg bending the wrong way. But Tua's younger than those guys.
There's also Joe Theismann getting his leg broken in half.
Let's not talk. Please don't put a video of that on the screen. But let's look at the teams picking in the top 10. The Bengals and the Redskins are both locked into Joe Burrow and a generational talent in Chase Young, so I don't think they're even in the conversation. Then you have the Lions, who are the best landing spot of any team in the top 10 because they already have an established quarterback in Matt Stafford, who can come in and start for another year while Tua rehabs. But the Tagovailoa family isn't going to want to go up to Detroit and live in the Motor City. That's just a miserable place. If you told me I had to go from Hawaii to Detroit, I'd say, okay, I'm going to the XFL. But he won't succeed there. The Giants are already locked into their first-round pick, so they can't really draft Tua. They've already made their mistake a year ago and are living with it. But the Dolphins right now
I would rather have
are
Daniel
the clear
Jones and
favorites
Tua,
for Tua to
especially with
land. And
their
the
quarterback
Dolphins
situation.
just don't work. The Dolphins are not a team which Tua can go to because he's not going to be able to start for you. And I'm sorry for saying this about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Love the guy, Harvard grad and all that. But if I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, I am pulling my hair out if I have to see another year of Ryan Fitzpatrick's inconsistent play. I'd go nuts. I couldn't stand it. It'd be terrible. Let alone the fact he's got Josh Rosen backing him up. Oh, my God. If I had to watch that as a fan, and I don't think the team wants that either, I think it just doesn't work. I think he'll be drafted there, but I think it's a terrible fit.
You think he's going to go to Miami?
But then we get the Chargers, who don't have a QB with the Phillip Rivers situation. I think Phil's on his way out of there, but he needs.
Well, he is on his way. They've parted ways.
Phil's on his way out of there. Hates the city of L.A., City of Angels, not in his opinion, going somewhere else, retiring in Florida. But then you get to the Panthers, who are locked into their quarterback in Cam Newton. Same thing with the Cardinals, Jets, and Browns. They're all locked in.
They're not locked into Cam Newton. They're locked into him for this year.
They're locked into him for this year, but at the same time, I don't think you bring him back and immediately draft Tua. I think that goes over very poorly in the locker room. It's saying, oh, Cam Newton, you're a one-year rental, which will not go well for this season. That'll go extremely poorly for this season, given Cam Newton's inclination to be a bit emotional about things.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. Something that I kind of want to add to the Panthers is I could definitely see him going there because the owner said if Cam Newton's healthy, he'll start. Then we have the head coach, Matt Rule, saying he's our starter for this year. And they only have him on contract for this year. So I could definitely see them drafting Tua, have him sitting behind Cam. And if for any reason Cam Newton is spectacular again, returns to MVP form, then you have a highly coveted backup that you could get an enormous amount of capital to then add to Cam Newton's MVP performance, and your team's doing even better. So I don't think it's crazy for them to draft Tua.
Well, they'd have to part ways with the star backup
spot.
Kyle Allen. I know Panthers fans would be very devastated about that.
Star backup.
He sees it. He was a key contributor on how bad that Panthers team was this year. But Tua has no place in the top 10. You obviously think he could fit with the Panthers. I don't. I don't think it'd go over well if he was drafted there. But Tua should go to the Saints. And you're going to say, oh, they've got Teddy Bridgewater. Let Teddy Bridgewater go. Drew Brees is going to be the starter for this year. Teddy deserves a chance to start. He was undefeated as the Saints pick this year, and he should go to a team which can actually appreciate his talents and let him play. Drew Brees starting for another year is not good for Teddy, but it could be very good for Tua, particularly given the talent around him in that organization if he goes there.
There's Taysom Hill, Isaiah, the next Steve Young.
Okay, don't start with me about the Taysom Hill crap. He's a gimmick player.
When did the Saints pick?
They pick late, I believe, but hey, Tua could be around it.
I mean, I don't think he's fallen down that far, and I don't think the Saints and Sean McVay are jumping up that high to get him. Do the Saints even have a first-round pick?
Good question. That I do not know the answer to.
Because didn't they trade? They traded up for that. They can
get back from the first round easily. They have enough assets where they could
that high. Because I feel like one team is definitely gonna be like, oh, we need to take him, even though I think they shouldn't.
Yeah, and that team's gonna make a mistake unless it's the. That team's gonna make a mistake. Maybe the Saints will trade up for a top 3 pick. We'll have to wait and see.
Anyway, we appreciate you all for watching. Let us know what you thought about the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight. What do you think about the Astros scandal and how Rob Manfred handled it? Like, subscribe. See you next time.